Bonjour, Jean. Good evening and welcome to Montreal as we're about set here to have the Expos and the Atlanta Braves in a game so very important to both of them, and really a situation for the Atlanta Braves to keep putting the heat on the San Francisco Giants, who are in Houston tonight in a game starting about a half hour from now, and I know John will keep us posted. Last night they fell behind 3-1, guys, and that didn't last for long. 18-5, and they continued their impressive record on the road. I mean, their road record is such that they don't even need a home game.
Well, Chris, the thing about this ball club is they're very confident right now, and even though they fell behind last night, they just keep plodding along. They've got a lot of weapons, and they know that no one can shut them out. They've got so many good hitters in the lineup. They can do so many things to beat you. They've got an awful lot of confidence.
So Bobby Cox, north of the border, trying to see his Atlanta Braves to their third straight NL West, and hopefully for him a World Series berth. Here is our Energizer lineup tonight for the Atlanta Braves. Otis Nixon leads it off in center field. Jeff See-Through Blauser, the shortstop, hitting second. Ron Extravagant, who has been just that, hitting third. The crime dog, Fred McGriff, in the cleanup spot. Terry Pitton of Pendleton went deep twice last night at third base. It's fifth. David Justice against the left-hander drops down to the sixth spot. Damon Berryhill is the catcher, hitting seventh. Mark Officer Lepke, the second baseman, hitting eighth. And on the hill tonight, Steve Avery hitting ninth against Jeff Fassero, making his 13th start. Was working out of the bullpen till just before the All-Star break. He one of the many reasons, Buck, why the Expos have gotten back into the hunt.
Chris, oftentimes when you take a reliever and put him in the starting rotation, it really frees up his mind because he's got some room to work, and that's what it's done to Fassero. He's got a live fastball, a good breaking pitch, and an outstanding split finger pitch. So what the Braves will have to do tonight is get to him early so he doesn't get to those split finger counts, those counts where he's ahead and can get the Braves to chase that split finger. Defensively, the Expos have a lot of speed in the outfield. Youngster Rondell White, called up August 31st, is a bright spot in the future. Marquise Grissom, Larry Walker, two young veterans in the outfield. Sean Berry and Will Cordero on the left side. Delino DeShields. Veteran Randy Reddy has moved around all over on this field and made a very valuable contribution. Tim Spear works behind the plate tonight. Defensively, this is a play in the game last night that was really a turning point in the ball game. Otis Nixon slaps the ball to the hole. Will Cordero goes to third, and the Expos thought they had an out. Watch the close play here as the base runner slides into third base. Larry Vanover, the umpire, looks as though he got blocked out as Lansing came off the base, and it looked like they got the force out at short. Cordero has made 32 errors, but you must remember he's a youngster, and sometimes he loses his concentration.
Well, that one opened the floodgates for them to bat around in that 7-run fourth inning. Swinging at the first pitch is Nixon. Delino DeShields fields it over to Randy Reddy, and the Expos are ready. One pitch, one out.
You're going to see the Braves do an awful lot of that tonight as they try to get to Fassero. As I mentioned, they don't want him to get ahead of him and then throw that split finger pitch. They call it an electric split finger. It just explodes and the bottom drops out of it.
Well, the man who is up is with the way McGriff and Gant and Pendleton and Justice are now hitting. The man who is up, the shortstop, Jeff Blauser, has been their most consistent hitter. He's been over 300 all year. And I think, Peter, that a lot of people would say MVP on this team, he'd get a lot of votes.
I think it would be unanimous for the manager and the coaching staff, and he'd win fairly easily on the team. He's one of the most underrated players in the league.
And I think that will surprise a lot of our fans, because you remember in April and early May when the Braves were scuffling, it was he that was the one that was driving in all the runs. And what a job he's done defensively this year at shortstop, getting the nod every day, and he'll be there for quite a while. Fouls back the 1-1 pitch, so Fassero ahead of him 1-2. Felipe Alou, partly because of injuries to Ken Hill and to Nabholz and others, went to a different pitching rotation, and boy, that Buck got the Expos right back in this hunt. At one point winning 17 of 18, and Fassero, and a guy that bounced around with a lot of teams, he has really been a biggest story on the hill as anyone here in Montreal.
He really gave him a shot in the arm when they needed it. There's that split finger pitch. It was up and away. Fassero and Kurt Reeder, a youngster that moved into the rotation at the same time, they really got hot together. And everybody knows that you'll ride the starting rotation. how well they pitch establishes the tone of the ball game for you.
2-2 pitch to Blauser. He holds up and pitches inside. Ed Rapwano working behind the plate tonight. Joe West at first, Larry Vanover at second this evening, and Randy Marsh is at third. Blauser swings and misses at strike 3, so 2 up, 2 down for the Braves.
Facero threw a breaking pitch before this pitch and thought it was a pretty good one, so he comes right back with it and gets Blauser to swing at it.
But that was the pitch he did not have. When he was in the bullpen, he was basically fastball with a little bit of a split. He never had a slider. He was always better against right-handed hitters, but he didn't have that slider. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's really started using that against right-handed hitters.
And that happens because coming out of the bullpen, you don't have time to experiment or get comfortable with the breaking ball. And it's an opportunity as a starter to go ahead and use it. A little more margin of error as a starter.
This is Ron Gant, who has been swinging the hottest bat of all the Braves the last couple of weeks. And you saw the beginning of the show what excitement he gave all of us and everyone watching at home with a 3-run homer off the top of the fence in the 5-run ninth to beat the Reds last Wednesday. He continued on Thursday in another come from behind win against the Reds. And he continues. No, DeShields is able to snow cone it. And a 1-2-3 first inning for Les Expos. So nothing doing for the Braves in the top of the first. We'll be back in Montreal in un moment.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer battery. It keeps going and going and going.
Exactly how many colors of True Test paint do we offer? Let's just say taking a wrong turn in our factory would be a chameleon's worst nightmare. True Test paints over 1,000 colors at true value.
1-2-3 inning for the Braves against Jeff Facero. Now the Montreal Expos of Felipe Alou, and what a job he has done since taking over in the middle of last season. Got them in the hunt last year, and certainly they're in the hunt this year. And here's his Energizer lineup. Leading off is Chancentre, Marquise Grissom. The second baseman is Delino DeShields. Hitting second, Rondell White. Sean Gauche, the left fielder, hitting third. Larry Walker from British Columbia, cleanup in right field. Sean Berry is at third base tonight, hitting fifth. Will Cordero, Alan Cour, the shortstop. Randy Reddy, the veteran they just picked up a month ago, done a good job at first base. He's hitting 7th spear behind the plate tonight. Le receveur, the lanceur, the pitcher is Jeff Facero, and they're going against Steve Avery, 16-5. And Buck, the Braves are 26-6 in games that Avery has started this year.
They got a lot of confidence in this 23-year-old left-hander. They know he's going to be around the plate. He doesn't walk anybody. He doesn't give up many home runs. And he's always going to give you a chance to win. Avery is very simple in that he throws fastball, he throws a slurve and a straight changeup. But he's constantly pounding that strike zone.
So the crowd settling in and hoping the top of the order, Grissom, DeShields, and Rondell White, can get something going against Steve Avery. And of course, a nice moment before the game. I'm sure many on the Sports Center and baseball tonight saw really what was a gruesome sight. The ankle, the leg injury to Moise Alou. He was here before the game. He was here last night as well. He came out on the first base side, was introduced to the crowd, the standing ovation. But boy, right when they were getting ready to face the Phillies in that big 3-game set and trying to make a climb the mountain over Philadelphia, Alou gets hurt. But Grissom says, hey, those of us that are around can do the job, and he lines a base hit to left field.
Grissom leads it out with a single. Let's look at the Braves defensively. This is the third best fielding club in the National League. It's Gant, Nixon, and Justice in the outfield. A lot of speed out there. Pendleton and Blauser on the left side. Mark Lemke has been out of the lineup with a strained knee ligament. He played last night. He's back in there tonight. Fred McGriff at first base has committed 16 errors, and the veteran Damon Berryhill is behind the plate. This is a key part of the game, the running game for the Expos. Avery has picked off 14 base runners, and he's also allowed 29. Only Dennis Martinez of the Expos has allowed more stolen bases. Grissom is a very good student of his move. He's really checking him out.
To the plate goes Avery, and the pitch is up top for a ball. Delino DeShields, of course, used to hitting with Grissom on base, so he's an accomplished #2 hitter. He knows that Grissom has won the last 2 stolen base championships in the National League. He's 45 of 55. There's that move. It's not the great move, but I guess the close to great move for Avery.
Well, that's a different move because he steps off the rubber and flips from the side. He leads the league with 14 pickoffs, as I've mentioned. Next closest to him is 7. Now, he's aware that he's got to protect that catcher behind the plate. There's another different look.
Well, I talked with Avery before the game, and I asked how much more cognizant is he of the fact that they're playing the Expos as opposed to just anyone. He said, well, if it was a year or 2 ago, much more, and it would detract from me trying to get the hitter out at the plate. Now I'm aware, but I figure if the guys behind him don't get singles, and there's a good pitch there, swung on a miss by DeShields. Yes, I'm aware. Yes, I'll make the moves which are better, and I've been working on it, but I've also learned not to let them rattle me. That's why he thinks he's a better pitcher than he was 2 years ago when he was pretty darn good. 18-8 and MVP in the NLCS against the Pirates. Count is 1-1 to DeShields. Pitch out, nothing doing.
Well, he's a lot older now, Chris.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah, he's real old.
It's interesting here because DeShields, when he learned from Tommy Harper how to choke up on the bat, has been a much better bat control hitter, more natural #2 guy. He's cut his strikeouts down about 40 thus far.
Pitch is outside, and the count is 3-1. So the Expos trying to get something going. Montreal has stolen 203 bases this year. Next closest in the National League are the Cardinals with 148. The leader in the American League, California, with 156. So by far and away, and there goes the runner, hit and run, and it's fouled off, and the count will be full. But by far and away, almost 50 stolen bases more than anyone else in baseball.
Well, you know, you have to have speed to play successfully in this ballpark because it's a big ballpark. You got to take advantage. Take a look at the break. He didn't get a very good move there as he had to wait for that high leg kick, and then he checks out the foul ball and gets back to first. But you've got to have speed in his field, both offensively and defensively.
There goes the runner again, and DeShields pops it up. This will be out of play. You know, in talking with Tommy Harper, I mean, we're talking 203 stolen bases, and that's the most in baseball by far. But he doesn't think, and maybe, Peter, this is Buckward, because we're talking to a base stealer himself, he doesn't think that they are a gambling team at all.
No, not at all. I mean, Grissom is a great base runner, but he doesn't take extraordinary chances. They're not an out-of-control team at all.
Three-two pitch again, a little chopper that Avery will have to go to first. Does so. DeShields is out, and Grissom on to second base.
Well, here's an example of what starting the runner will do for you. Look at Grissom at first base. Not a great break at all. He's just moving on contact. He knows that DeShields has 2 strikes. Will probably put the ball in play. Avery has but 1 play, and that's to first.
Here is a young man coming to the plate, and you talk about a story. Rondell White began the year and played for half of the year, and probably the best minor league team in any league in the Eastern League, Harrisburg, the Senators, who won the regular season and then won the playoffs. Here he is hitting third in a key pennant game in September. There goes the runner to third. Throw by Berryhill. Forget it. Stolen base 46. Un bas volé for Marquis Grissom.
Steve Avery never stopped him at second base. That's the 30th stolen base that Avery has allowed this year. Take a look at the jump at second. Avery looks back, but Grissom gets a walking lead and breaks for third. Berryhill has no chance at all. You can see how easily Grissom steals third. 46 now.
One of the reasons that total is a little bit lower is because this is only his 23rd game leading off. They've hit him third a lot of the season. They've been hitting DeShields first, Lansing second. I think now, from now on, the next couple of years, you'll see Grissom, DeShields 1-2 at the top of that order.
And then Alou in the 3 spot and Larry Walker, the cleanup man. Count is 0-2 to White, who fouls it off. Rondell White is 21 years old. From Gray, Georgia, the number 2 pick in 1990, a compensatory pick that the Expos got when they lost Mark Langston, signed as a free agent by California. People forget Langston was here for those 2 months in that pennant drive in '89, the end of the season. White started in Harrisburg, then went to Ottawa in AAA, and combined there 127 games, 90 of them in Harrisburg, had 19 homers, 84 RBI, hit .328 in Harrisburg, at .380 in Ottawa. For, by the way, the best named team in all of baseball, the Lynx, the Ottawa Lynx. And here he is batting third for the Expos. Quite a story. Inside, count is 1-2.
Well, that's a pretty tough assignment for him right here with a runner at third base. What he'll want to do is just try to make contact. You get the ball on the ground and you got a chance of driving it through the drawn-in infield.
Broken bat, base hit for White. Les Expos take the lead 1-0. I mean, really, you think about Rondell White. I mean, look at all the crowd here. A little bigger throng than there's been at Harrisburg this year.
Good at bat as White was behind 0-2. He fouled off a couple of tough pitches and takes a tough pitch away from him and just hits it over the drawn-in infield. So the Expos jump out on top.
Well, there's an example of how the running game, yes, a stolen base, but also fleet of foot. You get to second on a slow chopper and a broken bat single, and that's how the kind of things the Expos have done. This is Larry Walker, the one real power hitter on the team. Walker this year with 21 home runs and 85 RBIs. Batting average of .276. Gold Glove winner last year, All-Star last year, and a favorite son because he grew up outside of Vancouver, so him being a native Canadian, they like him very much. And actually, he said, you know, from Vancouver, they don't really root for the Expos that much, but he was told that in an exhibition game the other day for the Canucks, they announced the Expos score on Friday night that they had beat the Phillies 8-7. There was a 2-minute standing ovation at the Pacific Coliseum. So there's some Expo fans out on the West Coast here in Canada.
He's been a very important guy in this surge here. He's had 5 home runs in September. He's had a great month. And he is a marquee player.
Up top is Avery, 3-0 to Walker. Avery says that he knows Walker would like it down and away. Now that would normally be an out pitch, I guess, for everybody. Said, I don't really want to work him there, and we've seen him avoid that down and away, and he's been high with some of this stuff.
You could get fooled by Walker's stance thinking that he's vulnerable away. Look how open he is.
Yeah, but he lunges right in, and that time he takes a strike. So see, again, Avery not down and away. He said, yeah, that's why he's killed me in the past. You saw the numbers, over 400.
Yeah, he homered off him the last time he saw Avery down in Atlanta.
Off-speed pitch. That's up top, and base on balls. A boot sur balle. And the Expos have their third runner on in this inning. And a quick visit by Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, to the mound.
Well, there's going to be a little conversation here about Avery getting ahead. That's the entire philosophy of Leo Mazzoni. You got to pitch ahead. That enables you to get to all of your pitches.
Now, the fact that the Expos have a run in the first inning is big news. I mean, since the break, starting pitchers ERA is 2.84. Now, if you look at all the other starters in baseball, only 3 of them have a better ERA than this collected group of the Braves. That kind of puts that into perspective. This is the third baseman, Sean Berry, the pickoff play. And they almost caught the youngster, Rondell White, sleeping.
Well, you saw Mark Lemke try to get a knee down and block Rondell White off the base at second. Take a look at the spin move here. Lemke sneaking in behind the base runner, and watch how he tries to block off second base. Throws his knee right down on him.
Avery to the plate off speed is chopped foul by Berry. If you're wondering, the only ones with ERAs better than the Braves staff, Maddox, two of them are the Braves. Maddox and Avery on the Braves, Rio, Apier, and Portugal. Those are the only ones. Sean Berry, one of 2 in the lineup tonight for the Expos that came over from Kansas City. He came last August in the trade for Chris Haney and Bill Sampson. Of course, Haney's done a pretty good job for Kansas City on the mound.
But Berry's done a very good job for the Expos. I mean, you look at his production, 14 homers, 49 RBIs, and only 279 at-bats. I mean, you double that to, close to 30 homers, close to 100 RBIs over a full season. And he's gotten a lot better in the field. It was a very good pickup for them. 27
years of age in his first full season in the majors. Avery ahead of him 0-2. Comes inside, and Berry fouls it back.
Well, Avery's really getting in on Berry right now with 2 strikes. Berry just trying to make contact, and Avery's very slow, deliberate motion allows him to really get that fastball inside the right-handers. It almost lulls them to sleep. They get the feeling it's not going to be very hard, but boy, the ball really jumps on you.
Off-speed pitch. Nice play by Pendleton. Long approach, not going to be in time. And the bases are loaded for the Expos. Off-speed pitch inside that Berry sat on. Pendleton quick enough to prevent it from going in the corner.
Now Terry Pendleton saves a run right here going toward the line with the backhand. Now watch him look quickly. Second base, nothing there. I better go to first, and he tries to bounce it on the AstroTurf, but nowhere nearly in time as Berry has an infield hit.
Rondell White now at third base. Larry Walker, the runner at second base, and Sean Berry at first with 1 out for the young shortstop, man who delivered twice in the Philadelphia series, but in the one we showed you at the beginning of the show, the winner against Mitch Williams in the 9th inning on Sunday, the 5-4 win that allowed the Expos at that time to pull within 4. Will Cordero.
See what he's done with the bases loaded. Once again, Avery has fallen behind, so now as a hitter at the plate, you're going to eliminate the breaking ball and changeup and just sit on a fastball for a pitch or 2.
Cordero will not celebrate his 22nd birthday until October the 3rd. I mean, so you talk about kids. You get a 21-year-old on third base, a 21-year-old at the plate, going against a 23-year-old Steve Avery. Youth is being served in this pennant race. My goodness. What were we doing when we were? Well, I know what you were doing, Buck. Rip, but just foul.
Now there's a 2-0 swing. Avery fell behind 2-0. Cordero could look for the fastball, but he was out in front of it and pulled it foul. Well, Cordero is going to be a very good offensive force for a long time. Look at that swing. Aren't a whole lot of shortstops that wield the lumber like that.
No, that's why they'll put up with the errors. Count is 2-1 to Cordero. Swung on and missed. 2-2.
Well, next spring they're going to try him at third base. They've got to move Mike Lansing to shortstop, and they're hoping with that bat potential they can get him over. Philippe's very worried that if he can't get more consistency, that they're going to have a tough time winning with the infield defense that he gives them, mainly because of his very, very erratic throwing mechanics.
Little chopper to short. Braves try for 2. Blauser, Lemke. The throw was wide. Plus Cordero can run. White scores, and the Expos lead it 2-0 here in the first. So there's where speed, although that was going to be a tough DP, but speed throughout the lineup gives you a run, and that doesn't show up in the stolen base category.
Yeah, they didn't have a chance at that because Cordero runs so well. And watch how Blauser has to go in the hole. Cordero It's out in front of the changeup. You can see that Avery had him out in front, and he's hustling. He knows he's got to hustle down the line to beat this out. It's just not sharply hit enough to allow the Braves to turn two. Lemke knows that and just takes the force out.
So the 7th man up here in the first inning, the veteran Randy Reddy. Reddy came over from the Orioles system. He was released. The Orioles, he played in Rochester, released in mid to late August. And Reddy, well, he came over here with the Expos on August 11th, singled on his first pitch as an Expo. And he's one of the few veterans they say has really been a steadying influence in the clubhouse.
On a team really lacking veterans, he's been a tremendous help to the young players. I mean, he, after he got let go by the Royals at the end of spring training, he really wondered whether he wanted to go back to the minor leagues again. Greg Nettles said, you know, they don't call guys up to the big leagues from the beach. You better go play somewhere.
Keeps an eye on the trail runner, Cordero. Walker at third and Cordero at first. Steve Avery, you talk about laboring in the first inning. 32 pitches, Buck.
He averages 87 for starts. 87 pitches per start.
There goes the runner, Cordero. Forget it. An uncontested stolen base for Cordero. Stolen base number 12. So two runners in scoring position, and the count 2-1 on Reddy. The glove of Berryhill, a good heater by Avery, and that's what Bobby Cox has in mind.
Bobby Cox doesn't see too many starts from his starters like this, where Avery has been behind. He's thrown a lot of pitches. He lost his concentration and allowed Cordero to take off to second base. Not very often that he sends a starter to the mound and he labors through the first inning like Avery has tonight.
Big pitch coming to Reddy. Reddy sends it to center field. Otis Nixon draws a beat on it. Makes the play, but the Expos do some damage against Steve Avery and the Braves. We've played one here in Montreal. Les Expos 2. Les Braves 0.
The stunning photography of the adventure documentary series Expedition Earth will transport you to exotic locations to witness the amazing adventures of the unique individuals who challenge the natural world. You'll brave one of the fiercest and most harrowing whitewater rivers in the world in Bio Bio, Lost River of the Mapuche. Face the ultimate vertical challenge in the dangerous sport of rock climbing as you go off the wall on Timbuktu. Join an extreme snowboarder, an Olympic skier, and 2 daring hang gliders as they face the dangers of New Zealand's highest peak in one of the most amazing adventures ever filmed. Call and order Mount Cook now for $9.95. Then every other month, you'll receive other cassettes in this award-winning series at the regular subscription price. Keep only those you want. You can cancel anytime.
To order your first Adventure World video, call now. 1-800-826-3500. Use your credit card and get the special introductory price of only $9.95. Call now. 1-800-826-3500.
Budweiser takes you out to Toronto, where Boston had a 1-0 lead over the Jays. Tony Fernandez at the plate rips this one out to right field. One hopper off the wall. Paul Molitor on first. They wave him home. Tony Fernandez going for 3. The throw comes in, and he is out at third. It's tied 1-1 in the second. The Twins and the Yanks. That was Pedro Munoz with 2 aboard, a 3-run home run. Ken Herbeck has a home run as well. And right now, the Yankees are down 4-0. Let's take you back to Montreal.
All right, John, merci. Fans of all ages here in Montreal. Peter pointed out a lot of youngsters beginning to catch Expos fever. They weren't around the last time the Expos were in the hunt this late. And of course, the only time they ever made the postseason was 1981. They won that mini playoff in the strike year. Lost in the 7th game of the NLCS in the 9th inning. Rick Monday hit a homer off Steve Rogers here. And that was the closest they came to the series. Pretty darn close. Just one run away. But they haven't tasted postseason since. Here's a man that is looking forward to a taste of postseason in the National League. Fred McGriff. Close to 100 RBIs. Of course, 6 straight 30 home run seasons for the Crime Dog. Lefty Facero, a fastball to the lefty McGriff, and it's 2-1.
One thing that makes this matchup interesting with Facero is against the power hitting team is that he has the best ground ball ratio with his sinker of any pitcher in the National League.
Well, he's got that good sinking fastball, the split finger pitch, and watch how, if he can continue to pitch ahead, how he'll be the aggressor. He's got a 2-run lead. Remember, last night the Expos got 3 in the first, but it really didn't serve them very well. Now there's a pretty good pitch. Spear was halfway down to third as he was ready to throw it around the infield.
Now, will the umpire, Ed Rapuano, what will he think about the catcher making a move like that? Nothing?
Nah, he won't think too much of it, but watch the catcher's reaction. It's a breaking pitch. He catches it. He's ready to throw it to third.
As he should have.
There won't be too much said about that.
Full count to McGriff. Leading off the 2nd inning. There's a fastball for a strike. And as we would say up here in Montreal, the strikeout.
Well, it was a good pitch, but it was well placed because McGriff was thinking about the slider to the outside that he probably thought was strike 3 too. And then he's late on going after that fastball. A good heater on the inside catches McGriff looking.
So 4 up, 4 down against Jeff Facero thus far. Terry Pendleton up. Had 2 home runs last night. So for Terry, who got off to such a horrible start, was sitting, remember, about 150 on May 1st. Pendleton now is average up to 270, and the 2 gave him 16 home runs for the season. MVP and batting champ of 2 years ago. Ripped to right field. This is going to be trouble for Larry Walker. It's a one-hopper off the wall. Walker with a good arm. The throw to second. Pretty good throw, but Pendleton aboard with the double. The first hit of the game for the Braves. 30th double in the year for Terry.
Anytime you hit a ball to right field and Larry Walker can get his hands on it as a base runner, you know you have to hustle. Pendleton has been hot. He takes this fastball up and away from him and rips it down into the corner. Walker plays it perfectly, bare hands it, and fires a strike into second base. But you can see Pendleton with the slide has a 1-out double.
So Pendleton again continues to rip Montreal pitching, and David Justice is up. Justice leads the Braves with 37 homers. I know we just have a handful of games left. The Braves with 10 left after tonight, but Justice with 37, McGriff and Gant with 35. If Justice hits 3 more and either the other get the 5, so they have a pair of 40 home run hitters here for the Braves. It's only been done 6 times before in the National League and 6 times before in the American League, in which 2 guys on the same team have 40 or more. Count is 1-0 and Justice holds off. I'll give you a hint. 3 of them were the same 2 guys. Do I really need to give you much more? Do we have to go back a few years, but do we think we know who those are, Peter? Some guys named Ruth and Gehrig. Yeah, they did it 3 times. Fastball on the outside corner, strike 1.
The thing about Jeff Facero is he is tough to pick up. The catcher, Tim Spears, says he has a tough time picking up, and he's catching him, and he knows what's coming. Last time out against the Cardinals, they didn't have too much trouble picking him up. 9 hits in 5 innings. One positive there, he didn't walk anybody.
Good fastball again on the outside corner, 2-2.
is keeping the fastball right down at the bottom of the strike zone, and that's important for him because he uses that split finger pitch. And right there, that's the bottom of the strike zone out in the corners with good velocity.
Deuxième retrait, his second strikeout of the inning for Facero. Justice will sit down.
The strikeout was set up by that good fastball outside. Now that's a split finger pitch. He won't throw too many of them to left-handers, but that was a very good one, and
good time to throw it.
Justice was overmatched.
2 down, and Pendleton on second base in a 2-0 Montreal lead here in the top of the second in Montreal. And Damon Berryhill will try against the lefty Facero. Berryhill came over a year ago from the Cubs. Way behind that pitch by Facero. Strike one. Olsen caught last night. He's still not quite back.
No, he hasn't. Berryhill's done a nice job with this staff. I mean, everybody knows that Javi Lopez is going to be their catcher next year, and he is a potential star. But Javi Cox wants to go with the veteran receiver handling this pitching staff, and Greg Olson has done such a great job with this staff over the last 3 years.
Look at Greg Olson as Berryhill chops it foul. So Facero is ahead 0-2.
Let me tell you something about this catching position on the Braves. And I'll tell you that catchers are very important. You know that. But how'd you like to have a pitching staff like this to work with? I mean, he can make an awful lot of very mediocre catchers look good. Anybody on this staff. They all have a good idea what they're doing on the mound. They all have a good selection of pitches. And they're not afraid to throw it over.
You would have hated to catch this staff, wouldn't you? Inside fastball, it's 1-2.
Well, the thing about it, they're confident. You have to be confident when you go to the mound, and you have to want to throw the ball over.
Here's Steve Avery, who struggled in the first inning. But remember last night, the Expos scored 3 times off John Smoltz in the first inning. They ended up winning 18-5. So those 3 runs were kind of a blip on the radar screen by the time it was over.
Kenny Hill was really hurting last night.
Yes.
That was very obvious. His stride is very different. They're even talking about not starting him again this year. He needs some time to get over the pulled groin and get back to normal for next year.
1-2 pitch to Berryhill. He tried the inside fastball. He's got good pop on that fastball, which is all the more impressive, Buck, I guess, with the way that he throws a good curve.
Yeah, and he's not missing by much. He's been all around the plate tonight.
Well, he will top out at 94. They get him normally at 90 to 92. And of course, that's on the jugs gun. It's a little fast, but he's got a well above average fastball, which is great down in the strike zone. I mean, a guy that throws that hard has only allowed 7 home runs. It's pretty good sinking stuff.
An ultra retrait. 3 strikeouts here for Facero in the second. 2-0 Montreal.
This is your world, genuine and true, working together in all that you do, and you're giving it your best. Proud to be your bud, Budweiser. Proud to be your bud. Proud to be your bud. Ooh, yeah. Proud to be your. Proud to be your bud.
For this guy, any deodorant will do. But these guys need Speed Stick. Antiperspirant that gives 110%, even if you don't. 24-hour protection against wetness. And now Speed Stick deodorant has a powerful new formula to fight odor. Speed Stick. For movers and shakers, the #1, the only one.
Americans have always had a love affair with their cars.
Do you love? Who do you love? Yeah, who do you love?
And when it comes to plugs and filters, we guarantee to keep that spark going for a long, long time.
Who do you love? Do you love?
Thomas really missed Wendy's Monterey Ranch chicken sandwich with its whole breast filet, Monterey Jack cheese, and creamy ranch dressing with real bacon on the toasted Kaiser bun. So he has something to say.
It's back.
The pennant chase is on. Barry Bonds leads the Giants against the Reds. Then Frank Thomas powers the first-place White Sox against the Athletics, live on an ESPN Friday night doubleheader.
Back in Montreal, the Expos lead the Braves 2-0 in the bottom of the second inning against Steve Avery, the 8-9-1 hitters. Tim Spear, the catcher, Facero, the pitcher, and the leadoff man, Marquise Grissom, who began the two-run rally in the first with a single. Added a stolen base, went from second to third, scored on a single by the youngster Rondell White. Second run scoring on a fielder's choice by Will Cordero. Count is 1-1 as Spear fouls it back. Spear, Darren Fletcher is the normal catcher here.
Take a look at his foul tip. That's not quite as violent as it looks because he's wearing that hard hat. There's not really much resistance for his mask strap on his head.
Is that as violent as that look?
Yeah, that was pretty violent. I'm not suggesting that you stand out there and have people hit balls off your mask, but it's really not quite as tough as it looks.
With two swings, Spear has almost KO'd the catcher and taken out half the dugout, so he's doing a heck of a job. Where will this one go? Nowhere. Strike three. Spear will sit down. First strikeout of the night for Steve Avery.
Avery gets that fastball right on the corner. Spear knew it was there. Let's see if Avery now here in the second inning can develop the pattern of getting ahead.
Facero has been to the plate 36 times as a major leaguer. He has 2 singles.
Felipe Alou says he knows now why he was a middle reliever so long. He didn't want him. Nobody wanted him to hit.
Count is 2-0 to the light-hitting Facero. Fastball inside part of the plate for strike one. Facero rattled around, was signed by the Expos on the 6-year minor league rule. He had been in the, there you can see the form that is 2 for 36. Count is 2-2. He'd been with the Cardinals and the White Sox organizations. 30 years old, got a shot with the Expos. 29 last year, did well in relief, and he'll sit down. A pair of strikeouts for Avery. Well, Avery's kicking off a much better second inning, and we kick off college football tomorrow night. Our weekend kickoff show, Chris and Coach Craig, 7:40 tomorrow night, and then we get set for Kentucky at South Carolina. Gamecocks at home. The dangerous Wildcat team, Pookie Jones and company. That's Thursday Night Football on ESPN. Pookie, is that like Youpie, the Expos mascot here? Youpie, the judge. Marquise Grissom looks at ball one. There's Youpie. One of the favorites of our producer, Jay Cutlow, Youpie. We make the circuit around the parks. Jay always looks forward to having a few words with the Youpmeister.
Boy, they do some crazy things in this park. What I miss are the chickens up on the scoreboard. They used to come up every time anybody threw to first. They once had, I believe it was 14 chickens up on the board cackling all at the same time with Tim Raines on first base.
The Youpie delivers drinks there, huh? And hot dogs. Well, this is the Olympic Stadium next year, the orange roof. As the count is 3-1 to Grissom. The orange roof, which is kind of an eyesore, really. It's the inside, as you call it, Buck, of a basketball. They're going to take it off next year, the $100 million roof, because they need a full year to fix it. So September games will be interesting in here in Montreal. This is a long run, but justice is there. And a much different second inning for Steve Avery than was the first. We have played 2 in Montreal. The Expos lead it 2-0.
A new Rheem central air conditioning system is so reliable, it works like a dream.
You mean it works like a Rheem?
Over 50 years experience and the latest technology is why it works like a dream.
You mean it works like a Rheem?
Rheem has a new quality central air conditioning system that's just right for your home, and it works like a dream.
You mean it works like a Rheem?
If it's reliable, trouble-free, and works like a dream,
it works like a Rheem.
Imagine a cold medication so effective, one tablet keeps symptoms from coming back a full 24 hours. Introducing Effidac 24, the first cold tablet for consistent 24-hour relief. Look, Sudafed drops off after 6 hours, Tavist after 12. So your symptoms keep coming back. But just one Effidac gives consistent relief for 24 hours. So your symptoms don't come back. New 24-hour Effidac keeps cold symptoms from coming back.
You're unbelievable. You're so unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
A message from Major League Baseball.
Budweiser takes us out to Toronto. Henkin in some trouble.
To right field. And
Scott Fletcher with this shot to left field. His 5th home run of the year, the solo home run. And 2-1 is the lead with the Jays batting now. And at 7:30 on Friday night, you can see the Yankees against the Blue Jays. Jimmy Key makes his return to face his old team. Chris, Buck, Peter.
All right, John, thank you. Key against Guzman Friday night, Buck. That'll be a pretty exciting 3-game series up in Skydome.
Certainly contrasting styles, and Key is the type of left-hander that always gives the Blue Jays problems. Changes speeds, turns that sinking fastball over, and has a great changeup.
The Yankees pretty much have to sweep that series, even though Toronto has some dangerous games ahead after. 8-9-1 for the Braves here in the third. They trail at 2-0. Lemke, Avery, and Nixon against the left-hander Jeff Fassero, who's looked very sharp tonight, and starts off Lemke with the strike. Remember, Lemke was out last week with a knee injury, and now he has a slight hamstring pull, so he's going towards the end toward the wire here, a little bit beaten up.
He had a shoulder problem, then he strained a ligament in his knee, and now he's playing with a slight strain. I asked him around the batting cage how you feel, and he says, I don't know, I haven't checked everything yet.
1-1 pitch to Mark Lemke. Misses. 2-1. Fassero struck out the side of the second, had a strikeout in the first, so very early on he's been impressive. 2-1 pitch to Lemke from Utica, New York, so he's actually playing close to home. This is an almost home game for him in Utica. So some of the TV crews from Plattsburgh and upstate New York, Burlington, Vermont. It's almost, that's kind of Expo country, bleeding south of the border in New York and Vermont. Scramble to short. It's going to be a long throw for Cordero. Well, that's one of the reasons why they like him. He has got the gun, and we just saw it.
Well, you have to remember how young he is. You put him out there every day, and he's going to make a lot of mistakes. But watch how he plants and fires. He's got a strong arm. But as Peter mentioned, there has to be some work on his mechanics. He needs to get a little more drive in there, but makes a fine play right there. Strong arm all the way across the infield for the first out of the inning.
The pitcher, Steve Avery, up. He's a pretty good hitting pitcher. Ave's hitting 174 this year. 16 hits, 4 of them are doubles. A 184 lifetime hitter. He was when he didn't pitch in high school in Michigan, he played the outfield, so he could handle the bat. There's a strike by Fassero, and the count is 0-2. Avery, Mr. Baseball in Michigan in 1988. Grew up in Taylor, Michigan, not very far from Detroit. Grew up a Tiger fan. And, of course, was a big fan in 84. So I asked him, who were your favorite pitchers growing up? And I mentioned Steve Carlton. He said, nah, I'm too old. Steve Carlton. I mean, I didn't want to say Koufax. I'm trying to think of left-handed I said, all right, Mark Langston. I tried to work a little closer. Well, he's more of a power pitcher than I am. He said,
Did he say
nobody really.
Maddox?
Yeah. Nobody really. That's Facero's 5th strikeout. Nice job on the outside corner for Facero. His career high is 10. It came on August 30th against Colorado.
Just a fastball. He knows he doesn't have to do too much with Steve Avery at the plate, but he's had good command of that fastball. He's been able to spot it on both sides of the plate.
So 2 down, the base is empty. 2-0 Montreal here in the top of the 3rd. Chris Berman, Buck Martinez, and Pierre Gamin. So not far from your heritage. Found out something about you last night I didn't know. A descendant of Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys in Vermont. Here we're calling you Old Hickory.
I looked out on the Green Mountains today, matter of fact.
Beautiful day up here in Montreal. First day of fall. Strike by Facero, 1-1. Otis Nixon has been quite the catalyst. The last 9 games, for example, he scored 17 runs. I mean, that's this just in 2 runs a game is pretty good.
Way to go, Chris. You're really picking up on this game.
I've done this for 4 years. I think I'm getting, how you say, the hang of it.
You know, that's something that gets lost because the Braves have such an outstanding pitching staff. The fact that the Braves now, with the addition of Fred McGriff and the maturation of Blauser at shortstop, they have the entire package. Otis Nixon provides them a very legitimate leadoff man.
Yeah, they do. If you look at all the clubs, the leadoff man, the number 2 hitter, Blauser, power hitters like Gant, McGriff, and Justice, and Pendleton kind of in the middle. The defense is very good. I mean, they can beat you in a lot of ways. Everyone talks about the pitching, but the impressive thing has been the hitting lately. I mean, pitching is almost a given, which you shouldn't say. We've talked about how Blauser has been all year. They have all the parts, do they not? 2-2 pitch to Otis. It's outside. The count is full.
When they were going over this lineup with Facero tonight, what they were trying to emphasize with him is that these first 2 guys are the key, because Jeff, because he hasn't started a lot, has some problems fielding, has problems holding runners on, is very prone to the bunt. They feel Nixon is the key guy in this lineup against him.
Ripped to right center field, and this is going to be trouble. Nixon can fly. Grissom to the wall. Otis rounds second base and heads for 3rd. The relay, and Nixon is held at 3rd base. Well, they're playing Nixon in on the turf, and the way the ball scooted, and Otis can scoot, I thought for a moment we might have an inside the park circuit.
Well, with 2 strikes, Nixon just puts the bat on the ball, and right here you can see that it's headed up the gap all the way to the wall. They were playing very shallow, and look at the speed. He's checking it out right there, makes a great turn around second base, and now he's thinking, where am I going from here? But Jimmy Williams, the coach, is throwing up the stop sign already with 2 down.
So Otis on at 3rd with 2 out, and Blauser up. His 3rd triple of the year. An amazing stat, and we talked about it last week when Nixon had a triple. He has never hit an inside the park home run in the major leagues. I'm amazed at that. He will. What are you looking at me for? I'm just saying he will.
He will. You know, a lot of those things are fluky. Little bloopers that come in and everybody goes for it and bounces over their head.
Count is 0-1 to Blauser. Don't look at me like I just said I'm going over to take over for Yeltsin in Russia or something. I mean, what was that look?
They are, but that's a very fluky play. Because, I mean, for instance, you actually get more inside the park home runs in a place like Fenway Park because of all the angles and outfielders running into the wall than you do in a symmetrical park.
Nixon, runner off 3rd, inside fastball, misses to Blauser. Count is 1-2. 2-0. Expos lead the Braves. Here in the 3rd inning, John will keep you posted on the Phillies. Montreal begins 5.5 behind on the Giants. The Braves lead the Giants by 3.5. And of course, you've already seen some American League highlights tonight. Misses 2-2. Facero thought he had his 5th strikeout. 6th strikeout. He has 5. Been very impressive. He's got to worry about Nixon dancing off third base. Blauser rips it to the corner, and it's foul. Down near the 99-meter sign.
Well, that was a breaking ball that he left up in the strike zone.
325 pieds. Feet. 325. Basic elementary French. We're giving it's kind of a dual thing tonight. It's baseball and basic conversational French. Count is 2-2. Blauser has been such a good hitter with 2 outs this year. Not on that one. Strikeout number 6 for Jeff Fassero. He has stymied the Braves through 2.5. 2-0 Montreal.
This year during the World Series, Budweiser will bring you the game within the game. The Budweiser World Series Classic. To play, go to your favorite store, look for this sign, and pick up an official game card. Then catch the Budweiser Classic play during each game of the World Series. Each one's worth $100,000. Who knows? You could make the greatest play of the series.
Nice catch.
For all of you with the courage to go it alone, to put your future on the line and your name on the door, there's the corporate card from American Express. Use it for all your business expenses. We'll organize them by category and even provide records of charges. It's a great way for any company to get a handle on costs. Call 1-800-SUCCESS. The corporate card to your success.
While you weren't looking, something magical happened. The durability of an oil-based enamel and the easy cleanup of a latex came together. Hard to believe? Try it and see. New Duratex Colors enamels from Red Devil for the finish of a lifetime.
Before there were airbags, fuel injectors, big block V8s, fins, rack and pinion steering, wipers, radios, or even steering wheels. Kelly Springfield was building tires. Kelly Springfield, America's oldest tire company.
Welcome back to Stade Olympique in Montreal, where the Expos lead Steve Avery and the Braves 2-0. 2-3-4 batters for Montreal. The Shields, White, and Walker. Coming up, the Shields with those high socks, reminiscent of a man that played here some years ago, a man whose number is on the, he's retired here with Montreal, Le Grand Orange, Rusty Staub. There's a pitch by Avery in there for a strike. Count is 1-1, and Rusty numero 10 along with Gary Carter's number 8. The number is retired here for Les Expos. I'd like to think, even though he went on to the Cubs and won an MVP and is finishing up with Boston, that when he retires that they do the same for the Hawk, Andre Dawson. I think they will. Ripped to center field. Back goes Justice. Back. Loin. He makes the catch. Oh my, long run for Justice. That really is almost dead center field.
Well, they play him around the other way. They don't expect the Shields to pull too much. He didn't really pull that ball. He just hit it in the alley in right center. But Justice had a long run. Look at the extension that the Shields gets here. Out away from him, and he really drives the ball. But Justice, 2 strides on the warning track, makes a fine running catch.
Made that pretty, rather nonchalant. Very smooth play by Justice on a long run as Rondell White, who singled in a run in the first inning, fouls it back. Justice, is, we've talked about this many times, he's just improved dramatically, I think, this year. Although last year he feels the same. Defensively, I think he's a much better player than we've seen. This is Rick. Loin, au revoir. Un circuit pour Rondell White. He began the season in Harrisburg in Double-A. Here on September 22nd, he goes way deep off Steve Avery. The Expos lead at 3-0 home run number 2 for 21-year-old Rondell White.
Avery hasn't had good command all night long. You can see that pitch is right up around the letters, and White's expression tells you what he thinks of that one. He crushed that ball.
They've been working on that one for 3 years. Roger Brulette, the announcer here, the French announcer for the Expos. Back would be Loin. I've been sitting on that one for 3 years.
The talent in this organization is staggering. When we see the young, I mean, DeShields and Grissom, these guys are extremely young, but Rondell White and Clifford Floyd.
Rondell White, here's Avery's reaction. Only the 12th dinger he's given up in 208 innings. This one is hit to short left field. Gant coming in, and Larry Walker is out. Let's kick it over to John Saunders, eh?
Budweiser taking us out to Cleveland. Now the Orioles and the Indians. Sandy Alomar fights this one out to right field, and look how far he fights it out there for a double. Lewis comes in to score, and Cleveland has taken the lead over Baltimore. It's now 2-1 in the 6th. Let's go back to Montreal.
All right, John, thank you. As Sean Berry looks at ball 1. But Peter, the youngsters, Clifford Floyd is 20 years old at what, 101 RBIs in 101 games in Double-A?
An absolute monster of a young player. Huge, 6'4", about 220 pounds. Great basketball player in high school in Illinois. They have a kid named Murray who hit 30 home runs in the minor leagues. Curtis Pride is a great story, and looks like he has a very quick bat. And they have as much young pitching as any team in the minor leagues, except for the possible exception of the Chicago White Sox.
So you talk about them keeping, as you talked at the beginning of the show, much of their young players. 10 of them can go to arbitration. And with this influx coming up, this is going to be a force. Even though the Braves are going to be in Montreal's division, in the new Eastern Division, this is a club that Felipe Alou can't wait to just watch go to spring training next year, I got to think.
I don't think there's any question.
Barry fouls it back.
They really think they're going to be able to afford. They think that the market is going to be a little bit better. The arbitration jump with a lot of those players is not going to be too significant. They think the revenue sharing thing is going to come down. I mean, the Expos are one of the leaders of the 9 National League and 8 American League small markets that are telling the big markets, unless you give it to us, you can't televise games out of our ballparks.
Long throw for Blauser. Too long as Barry beats it out for his second infield single of the night.
Well, Sean Berry beats it on the ground on the left side, and it gets into the hole at shortstop. And he knows this has got a chance for a base hit. Once again, he's hustling down the line. Beats it out. Jeff Blauser couldn't make the play from deep in the hole.
Bobby Cox watching Avery struggle tonight. Expos have amassed 3 runs and 5 hits. Will Cordero drove in a run on a fielder's choice. The shortstop, 21 years of age, from Puerto Rico. Clock can't get over. I mean, that ball was slugged by Rondell White. That's exciting.